just sitting here, and now that I got my phone, uh, you look at 11 Mile Reservoir, and I've been coming up here for, God, over almost 50 years now. I've been coming up here, and right over there in that cove, that was one of the spots I used to snag kokanee, a lot of kokanee in there. When the kokanee, in 3 years, they always go back to where they originated, and then since all these kokanee are stocked, they're either at the boat dock or going upstream to the weir. Right over here, as we go around, I used to fish right in there a long time ago, and I'd always use a fly in a bubble, and I always did good. Me and Steve Stores would come out here with a fly in a bubble, and we'd never tell each other. I mean, if we caught a fish off a fly, we'd never tell each other. So we'd always make everybody guess. Well, a Mr. Stick was really good. And then right over here, I used to fish with bait fish over there with just bait fish. And one day we were all out there, and my mom was there too. My mom and dad and everybody. We were having just a fun day. And by about 11 o'clock, we were all drunk and laying on the bank. I mean, drunk, laying on the bank. And my mom was the only one up, and she was the one noticed that my pole was dragging down the shore. And she goes, "Stan, I think there's something on your pole." And I says, "Oh, it's just some moss. It's just knocked it off the thing and all that." Next thing you know, that pole's damn near in the water, and I'm reeling it in. If it wasn't for my mom, I would have lost my whole damn pole that day. Right over there is where one morning we were so excited about going fishing, me and Steve Stores, and we get going through that field. You can't see the road, but there's about a mile of field that you got to go through. And it was still dark out, and oh, there goes the boat. It was still dark out, and so we drove, and all of a sudden, kerplunk, kersplash, Steve drove his Volvo straight into the lake. I mean, the front tires were down in the water of the wet lake, and the back end was up. And so I go, and we were already drinking tequila. It was like 6 a.m. and we were drinking tequila already. And and I says, "How are we going to get this thing out of here?" And Steve goes, "Who gives a shit? He's getting in his trunk and getting his stuff out. He fished all day and never worried about that car being stuck." So he was ready to fish. Right over there, well, that's the weir over there. We used to night fish and go salmon snagging there. And God, I'll tell you what, we caught a bunch of salmon out of there. And we never knew about that place until one time me and Steve, my brother, we were coming back with a load of wood, and God, we seen not a bunch of people, but a lot of people down there. And so we went down and we seen all the salmon they were dragging out. So we hauled ass back to the shop and got some treble hooks and went to the bait shop and got some treble hooks and went back there, and we caught a bunch. We got so many salmon, but we didn't know how to drag them back to the truck, the slimy bastards. So we had to just kind of, put them in our coats and everything. And at the time, I think there was a 20 limit salmon, but nobody cared back in those days. There's my buddy. I got some pictures of him. I don't know if I'm waiting for him to catch a fish or he's waiting for me to catch a fish. But we're both kind of eyeballing each other, and he's a pretty good guy. He's been around here. I wonder if Penny would go after him. She don't like birds. But anyway, then right out there was Windy Ridge, and I used to fish a lot of Windy Ridge. All I'd use is a spin caster, like a Castmaster, and I'll tell you what was really good. He's looking at me right now. Look at him look at me. But I'll tell you what was really good was just a Daredevil, believe it or not. You know, every kid my age has had a Daredevil in his pocket or in his tackle box, and caught a lot of fish with a Daredevil there. Then of course I'm right here fishing now, 50 years later and everything. I like to fish with my buddy Terry, because me and Terry have known each other since we were 11 years old, and I think the first thing we did was go out fishing at Rule Creek and catching brookies. We knew how to catch brookies. So we knew all Rule Creek from up at Ute Lakes to Temple Hills. So look at the beak on that guy. And then right in here in this cove here, this is Lazy Boy, and beyond that's wicker rocking chair in there, and we used to ice fish all the time, and that's where we come on this south end of the lake, ice fishing. So, and that a lot, my dad and Ralph Clifford, every time you think of ice fishing, you got to think of my dad and Ralph, how they had to get rescued off the ice one time because it was in the springtime, and the chunk of ice that they were on started floating. There was ice and water. And the chunk of ice they were ice fishing on broke off, and it floated out in the middle of the damn lake, and so they had to be rescued out there. I'll bet you anything they were probably drunk. We were all drunk back in those days. So, there's my thermos again, and there's my pickup, and there's the outhouse over there. So everything's still doing good. So I'm signing off. Bye.